Hey, what is up guys? It's me, Anthony, here to give you guys a different type of video. Yeah, that's right. I've been tagged. I actually been tagged to do one of these movie challenges. You know, all these challenges I've been seeing on the film Twitter verse. And I was tagged by another fellow movie lover, Sarah, over on Popcorn Chat. You should definitely check out her channel. Her editing is great. Her channel, her content, everything is good. I aspire to be like her one day. But again, thank you for the tag, and let's get into it. This tag is for the top 10 wow moments in movies. So that can be wow in a good way or wow in a bad way. And I wanted to take this opportunity to, you know, with this challenge, play a little game. You know, maybe you guys can guess how old I am. Or probably, you know, maybe I don't want to do that because probably you guys will say that I'm older than I am, and that would just make me sad. Because some of these movies on this list came out when I was in middle school and in high school, a little bit, some of them in high school, and even some before that, before middle school. So, I mean, maybe connect the dots. Yeah, I'm that old. And the first movie on the list is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I saw this when it first came out in the theaters, and Harry Potter was crazy back then. I mean, Harry Potter started this whole craze of like the books going into movies. I remember vividly in my mind that sitting in the theaters watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with my mom and my sister, and just being amazed, or should I say wowed, at the fact that I'm actually seeing this book come to life, this book that I read come to life. And the scene that wowed me the most in this film is when Harry first enters Hogwarts, and then you just have the soundtrack playing, and Harry is just like me and going like wild, looking around. He's seeing the Great Hall, he sees Hagrid, he sees everything inside Hogwarts, and I just thought that was really, really cool moment. The next film on the list is The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Now, I saw all the Lord of the Rings movies in the theaters, but Return of the King has one of the biggest wow moments in the Lord of the Rings franchise to me, and that is when Aragorn comes to the battlefield. At this point, everybody, all the friends, you know, Legolas and everybody, Gimli, they're all like, we're gonna die at this point. You know, where's Aragorn? We need his help. He arrives and he comes with a undead army behind him. And just the shot of Aragorn just running by himself at first, and everybody's like, he's just one man. And then the scene of all the undead people coming out through the ships and everything. It's one of the craziest moments in Lord of the Rings. It's just so good. And then when I was making this list, it just made me want to like, man, I haven't watched Lord of the Rings in a long time. I really got to get on that. Now, I kind of cheated because I did say we're going to talk about movies that were wow and made me excited, but I had to put this one in here because, you know, this was really big back in the day. It still is kind of big. It's still kind of relevant because of The Legend of Korra. And that is its predecessor, the Avatar. And there was a live action film that came out by a director named M. Night Shyamalan, who is, I think, is actually a pretty good director. But this movie, wow. Yeah, it's probably one of the worst movies that I've seen in a long time. And it's not bad in like it tries to be bad, because I've seen some really bad movies that try to be bad. Like any Full Moon movie they're trying to be bad. They're B-movie horror stuff, right? But this is M. Night Shyamalan. We got a prominent director, and then we have Avatar, Last Airbender. It's probably one of the most popular shows at the time, and live action. And this is wow. All I can say is wow because it's so bad. Number 4 on my list is Monsters, Inc. Now, this was a time where Pixar was just new into the scene, and they had just come out with like 2 movies previous, I think. It was Toy Story and no, 3 movies previous. It was Toy Story, Bug's Life, and then Toy Story 2, I think. I could be wrong. You guys will just destroy me in the comments. I already know. But Monsters, Inc. was an odd one because it was kind of out of the formula. It looked totally different than any of the previous Pixar films. It looked real, and it still holds up today. And the wow moment in this one is not really a particular moment in the film, but it's just the animation itself. It looks really, really good. Like I said, it looks realistic, especially with Sully's character, the fur. I mean, this is an early 2000s movie, mind you. So you watch it and you kind of think, oh, that came out in like late 2010s or something, right? No, this is early 2000s. It was probably filmed, they started production in the 90s with this movie. Just the story alone is a wow moment. Number 5 is The Others, and particularly the ending of The Others. And you know, like with most of these movies on this list, this was a time where the internet was still a baby and there wasn't a thing called spoilers. So when you had a movie that had a crazy ending like this movie did, not everybody knew about the ending already. You weren't going to get spoiled. And if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you because, you know, I still think it holds up. I think this movie is the movie that a lot of other horror films like imitate now. But at the time, that ending was kind of mind-blowing, and they did it so well from beginning to end to make you, you know, get into a certain mindset that when the ending does happen, you're like, wow. Number 6 is Star Wars, the prequels. Yeah, I know you're gonna hate me, but the prequels were my Star Wars. You gotta remember that this was a time where Star Wars was gone for a long, long time in a galaxy far, far away. But this was my Star Wars. I know the prequels don't get a good rep, but I remember sitting in the theaters with my mom and my grandpa, who took my mom to go see the original 70s Star Wars, and we're all just sitting there, and it was just a nice moment. It was a wow moment. We're all sitting there and we're just watching something that's generations have seen and gone through. And of course, I'm talking about the Phantom Menace. And you know, a lot of people don't like the Phantom Menace. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like Annie and Jar Jar Binks, but I mean, he's in all of the films, so I don't know why you don't hate all of them. I guess his presence is lessened in the other film. But for me, like, it just has a warm place in my heart. It has a wow place in my heart, and I just get nostalgic every time I think about it. And number 7 on this list is Sin City. I know this might be a little surprising to you guys, but when this movie came out, nobody, no director, no studio were doing or filming in the style that Sin City was filmed in. It was pretty like revolutionary for its time. And I remember watching it in the theaters. I never watched like a black and white movie up until that point. And I just remember seeing, I was like, oh, the black and white movie, and it looks like a comic book. And this is before like the Marvel stuff happened, you know. A couple of years later, then the Iron Mans and the, you know, the Incredible Hulks and stuff would start coming out. But this was when comic book movies were still kind of finding their footing. But Sin City, I mean, it's still, to me, I think, especially if you can get the 4K version of Sin City and watch it on a 4K screen, I think it just ages pretty well, and it still, to me, has that little wow factor. Especially that scene with Elijah Wood when, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. That's crazy. Number 8 is Serenity. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck is a wow moment in this? You know, what the Serenity? It's based off of that one season TV series, you know, Firefly on Sci-Fi Network. But I gotta tell you, the wow moment, again, I'm probably kind of cheating here, but the wow moment isn't a particular scene. It's just the fact that this movie is made. The fact that this movie was made is wow enough, because this was a beloved TV series. It still is a beloved TV series that was canceled after one season. And I know some of you people that are watching this, there are used to, you know, seasons getting canceled after one season because, you know, you grew up on Netflix, but back then it was kind of unheard of. But this was the first time that fans actually got together and like kind of pressured the studios to do something. And you had like the cast and the crew, they were like trying to petition to get this movie done, and it became a reality, and it was on the big screen. And I remember going and watching it, and I was like, man, they actually did it, and it was actually a really good movie. Yeah, that's just a wow moment. I think it's like a wow moment in movie history that movie was even made. And number 9 is Iron Man, the first film in the MCU. Now, the wow moment in this one, I'm actually going to put a moment in this one. The wow moment in this one is actually at the very, very end. It's the end credit scene that is the wow moment for me, because this is the start of the MCU. I know it's weird to remember, but the MCU started in like 2008, and now you're just used to Marvel at this point. You're expecting like, okay, when's Marvel gonna release their phase? You know, but at the time, we didn't even know this was gonna happen. And when you see that end credit scene with Samuel Jackson coming out of the shadows, and he says, you know, we got something to talk about, Mr. Stark. It's about the Avenger Initiative. And everybody in the theater, I remember, was like, what's happening? Wait, they're doing this? They're actually going to do this? And just looking back at that moment and seeing where we got to, it's just, man, it just makes me say wow. And number 10, the final wow moment on this list for me is Toy Story 3. In particular, the garbage scene when they're going into the garbage compactor, you know, getting melted in with all the other garbage. And I legit thought they were gonna die. I was tearing up, okay? I didn't cry, but I teared up because I have emotion. I mean, you can see behind me, I got Buzz Lightyear. Woody is somewhere. I lost his hat, so I didn't want to display him because I just look weird without his hat. But Toy Story has a special space in my heart, and I grew up on Toy Story. I remember a fond memory of my mom. She had just gotten a new job, and Toy Story had just come out around that time, and we went to go see Toy Story, and I just remember I'd never seen a movie like this before. And everybody was talking about it. Pixar, this is like their first film. And that scene with the toys all holding each other's hands and, you know, just accepting that they're probably going to die. It's probably going to be the end of their journey. It's probably not an exciting wow. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It's not an exciting wow, but it's just a wow that, like, I grew up with these characters. These characters mean something to me. These fictional characters voiced by Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and others, just they have a special space in my heart. And yeah, wow. So that's it, guys. Those are my top 10 wow moments. I know I kind of cheated on some of them. I didn't give you exact scenes in all the movies that I listed, but hey, this is my list. I can do what I want. Again, thank you for Popcorn Chat for tagging me in this. I had a lot of fun. This was great. And now I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to now list a couple of channels that I'm going to tag so you guys can possibly participate into this. You don't have to do it. You know, if I tag you and you're shy and you don't want to do it, don't do it. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you. So the channels that I will be tagging are Jennifer Vega, Pumpkin Witch, Game Over Movie Reviews, and Jared Talks Cinema. You saw that edit because I forgot who I was going to be tagging. But guys, I really enjoyed doing this list. I had a lot of fun. And hey, maybe I get tagged and do some other list. That would be great. But till next time, guys, keep watching movies.